We begin the film seeing a man walking inside a facility. He holds a notepad and checks it, but keeps walking until he reaches another room. In that other room, the man is taking his suit, and we see some strange things, corpse remains, and some photos. The stranger then puts on his mask and leaves the place. In the basement, we see a man fallen unconscious on the floor, but soon the man regains consciousness, though he seems dazed. He gets up, but is injured and calls for help, and we see that a creature is watching him and slowly approaches its victim. While the man screams for help, he is brutally attacked by the creature, while that same man from the beginning enters the room, and the creature suddenly stops attacking the stranger. The man in the suit approaches the creature and stretches out his hand to touch it. The man then takes the victim's badge and soon takes his corpse. Then, in the room, the man cuts pieces from the man's body and gives them to his pet creature. Then the scene shifts to the Herring family, who are moving to the United Kingdom to be close to Andrea's mother. With her are her family, her husband Drew, and their 2 children, Lucas and Sarah. Lucas does not seem very excited about the trip, and his father asks him to be more understanding. Sarah also tells her brother to be patient. Sarah jokes that soon they will see their cousin Noah, which frightens Lucas because he thinks the boy is strange. Andrea then finishes the call with her brother Wesley. Andrea talks with her husband because he is not very happy with the idea of moving. But Drew understands his wife's choice. He says everything will be fine and they will create new memories in their new town. Then we are introduced to Andrea's family. Her brother Wesley tells his mother that they will arrive soon. Wesley asks if he can help his mother with anything, and she says she can still manage, but asks him to take out the trash. Then Wesley asks his son Noah to do it. Now we see that same man from the beginning placing barbed wire on the road to catch more victims. The man also places a sign on the main road warning that the road is closed. Now it is already night, and Andrea asks Drew if they are almost there. Her husband says they are close to arriving. They soon reach the sign the man placed, and Drew, who was already irritated, becomes even more so. Andrea looks at the GPS and says that road should not be closed. Andrea looks at the map and says there is a dirt road a few kilometers back that will take them to the main road. Lucas does not like the idea at all because it will dirty the car, and his father agrees because the car is rented and he does not want to pay to clean it afterward. Drew asks if there is an alternative route. Andrea then tells her husband to return to the main intersection. Drew immediately frowns because it's about 40 miles back. Sarah soon asks her father to take the dirt road because she can't stand traveling anymore, and so they decide to take the dirt road. Soon they begin to drive along that road, and we see they are approaching the barbed wire. Drew is driving very fast, which worries everyone. Drew pays no attention to his family's warnings and continues very fast until the barbed wire punctures the tires, causing the car to flip and the whole family becomes unconscious. Moments later, the family wakes up in that same basement where that strange man and that ferocious creature live. Andrea is the first to wake and see that strange place, and her whole family is unconscious. Andrea soon realizes she is chained and tries to free herself, but it's useless. She goes to her husband and tries to wake him, but the man is gravely injured. Lucas soon wakes and panics, wondering what happened and why they are there. Andrea tries to calm her son and tells him to be quiet. She asks him to keep an eye on his father. Sarah also wakes terrified, and her mother and Lucas calm her down. Andrea says that, no matter who put them there, they will all get out together and safe. She says those chains look old and maybe can be broken, so the 2 soon try to free themselves, but cannot. And then a noise echoes through the basement. Everyone is terrified, and Andrea asks her children to pretend to be unconscious. She does the same, and soon the lights turn on when the same man enters carrying another victim. The woman is injured and begs the man to let her go, but he pays no attention, and when he is about to leave, Drew calls for his wife, so the man starts to observe the family, but does not care much, and leaves the room. The family soon opens their eyes when the man leaves, and Sarah tries to free herself with a bobby pin she found, while the other victim begs for help. Then the roar of the creature echoes through the basement, which terrifies the woman. The aberration soon approaches the woman and attacks her fiercely, leaving everyone terrified. The creature then devours the woman until she dies. Lucas cannot stand watching that scene and vomits, so Andrea begins to approach the monster and asks the reason for all this. Back at Andrea's mother's house, her son Wesley is worried about his sister's delay. His mother asks him to call his sister's cell phone, but it goes to voicemail. Noah tries to call his cousins, but also has no signal and jokes that maybe they are dead, which his father soon scolds him for. Wesley tells his mother that the route is simple, that even her idiot brother-in-law could make it, but this does not satisfy his mother. Then he says he will go look for them, and Noah offers to come along. However, his father asks him to stay in case they return, so he can warn him. Back in the basement, Drew finally wakes and asks where they are, and Andrea says she does not know where they are, but warns him that they are not alone. Drew realizes he is chained and tries to free himself, but his family tells him it's useless to try. But the man does not listen, as always. He only stops when he hears the creature. Drew asks what that thing is, and Andrea says it is a monster, but Drew thinks his wife is joking and asks if it could be a bear or a dog. However, Lucas, already furious, also confirms it is a monster, and the boy begins to panic. But Andrea says they might have a chance, because like them, the creature is also chained. Drew asks who chained them, and they say it was a man. Andrea says they will manage to get out, but her husband says there is not much time, because his wound is getting worse. Andrea asks her son to try to get some water. Lucas soon sees water dripping into a bucket and grabs it to try to clean his father's wounds. But when he touches it, he discovers something much worse. When he looks to where the drips come from, he finds a human arm which frightens him and shocks everyone. Lucas, very angry, grabs the arm and throws it to the creature, but soon recoils when he realizes the man is returning. When the man enters the room, Andrea says there will be people looking for them, and Drew soon gets up and asks why they were chosen. The man watches silently, and Andrea questions what that creature is. He then says he will help them a little, which restores hope to the woman. He then explains that that body is the only barrier between them and the monster, and that if they stay behind it, they will be safe until dawn. He then orders them to choose who will be the sacrifice for the creature, but when he is about to leave, Andrea asks if they can drink some water. He turns and comments that there is hidden water there, and Andrea adds that she will also need a first aid kit. The man refuses, and Andrea argues that her husband has a head wound and, if it becomes infected, he will not be suitable as food for the monster, because the creature would become ill. She even adds that he has some reason to be feeding the creature and needs it healthy, so with no alternatives, the man reveals where the water is. She insists on the kit, but he replies that if she does not want to see him suffer, it is better to offer him first, and then leaves the place. Meanwhile, Wesley continues to search for his sister and the rest of the family. He informs his mother that he still hasn't found them and comments that his sister said she came by that way. During the conversation, Wesley notices the warning sign again and asks his mother to call the police while he checks. Approaching a bulletin board with several missing persons posters, he becomes uneasy. Then he returns to the car, calls his son, and reports that Drew made a detour, saying he will go there to check. Noah asks why, and Wesley explains there was a sign indicating the road was closed, but it was not there when they arrived. He suspects someone is playing a prank and instructs his son to tell his mother and warn the police, saying he will contact them as soon as he has news. Soon after, Wesley finds a man standing on the road and asks if he saw any car pass, explaining his family has been missing for about an hour. The man says he hasn't seen anything and says he is there only because the next day there will be a motocross event and he is placing signs to prevent people from going the wrong way. Wesley asks if there is another route, and the man explains how to get to the dirt road, but utters a strange phrase, saying strong people overcome difficult times and that they will soon appear. This leaves Wesley intrigued when he notices something on his car, but he thanks him and leaves anyway. The man then returns home and looks for a first aid kit. His wife says it is in the kitchen and asks if he is worried about the earlier accident. Feigning concern, he says he could have done more to help, and the woman comments that she waited all night with the ambulance, but they couldn't find anyone. In the basement, Drew asks the family to check their pockets for anything sharp to try to free themselves, but they say they already tried without success. He then decides to search the dead woman's body for something and, finding nothing, decides to use her belt. Andrea asks him to stop, but Drew insists on staying a bit longer and doesn't even notice the creature approaching. When he finally sees it, it is already nearly upon him, and he is barely saved. Back at Andrea's mother's house, the police are already present, but the officer says he cannot start a search before 24 hours. Wesley objects, saying this makes no sense because they are only a few hours away. The policeman says he understands their concern, but will try to talk to the locals since they are well connected and will try to find out something. But at the moment, he cannot do anything more serious. Wesley, irritated, comments about the missing persons posters in the area. The officer responds that investigations are already underway. Wesley asks if they found the car, and the officer says there are teams searching. Wesley, already annoyed, accuses the officer of being more concerned about the motocross event. The officer, surprised, asks what he is talking about, because he himself had not known of any event in the area. Back in the basement, Drew talks to Andrea and says one of them needs to sleep while the other stays awake. Andrea does not want to accept, but Drew insists. He claims her brother must already be aware of the situation, and they will find them soon. He asks his wife not to worry, because they will get out of there. Meanwhile, the officer begins to ask Wesley questions about the man who mentioned the event. Wesley describes a white man, maybe 50 years old. The officer says he will be on alert about that, but asks Wesley to let them do their work. If they have news, they will call, and if the family returns on their own, they should call him. Then, the officer leaves. The next day, Andrea asks Drew what they will do when the man returns to see who will be the first to be devoured. Drew says they will say nothing. Shortly thereafter, the couple's children wake terrified because it is already morning, and Lucas tries again to free himself. He asks if, when feeding the monster, the man will remove the creature's chains. The mother answers no, because the man is also afraid of it. Shortly after, he enters the room pushing a cart. The couple tries to talk to him until the man takes off his mask, revealing himself to be the same fellow Wesley had spoken to on the road. The man says it's nothing personal, but the creature needs human flesh. They call him crazy. He replies that they are needed because he had spoken to someone who was looking for them. Andrea, hearing this, panics, believing he has done something to her brother. He does not answer, only laughs at the situation, ignoring her crisis, and announces that time is up. They need to choose who goes first. With no options, Drew volunteers. The man then says he has a present, throws the first aid kit, and then pulls Drew to the corpse's place, attacking him when he tries to get up. Afterwards, he removes Drew's chains and leaves the room, but Drew is wounded and cannot move. The monster begins to approach, and Drew apologizes to his family. Using the belt he stole from the corpse, he tries to strike the creature, but it does little effect and only makes it angrier. The family runs to help him, and they engage in a tug of war until the monster rips Drew's arm off. He tries to attack again, but cannot because of the collar. Unfortunately, Drew dies in his family's arms, and with no time to mourn, Andrea tells the children they need to make a plan. Meanwhile, Wesley and Noah continue searching possible locations for the missing family. Wesley decides to go to the man's house and is received by his wife. Wesley tells about the disappearance of the family and the possible accident, asking if she knows anything. The woman invites him in and offers tea. Wesley explains that his sister was moving from the United States to their mother's town when they disappeared on the way. The woman laments and says she has no information. Wesley then notices a photo of a little boy. She says it is her son Henry and adds that he also disappeared. Noah, who is on the phone talking to his grandmother, decides to go after his father. While the woman speaks with Wesley, she seems nervous and asks if he will not drink the tea. Wesley comments that the officer said there have been many disappearances there. The woman says people get lost because of the beauty of the place and the darkness, which leaves Wesley confused. Noah then starts banging on the door, and Wesley says he has to go. But before he leaves, the woman repeats the same phrase her husband had said to him, which intrigues Wesley even more, and then the two leave. Meanwhile, in the underground facility, the man is taking care of the woman's corpse remains with acid. While doing this, he looks at the photos of his son and begins to have a flashback to the past, when he, younger, searched for Henry. Then the man returns to reality and answers his wife's call. He says he will be a little late for family dinner and looks at the photo of Andrea's family. Noah then asks his father what they will do because his grandmother is waiting for them. He replies they cannot return until they find the rest of the family. Noah agrees and asks what the woman said. Wesley says she did not say much, but asks his son if he knows where the Ferris Beer Brewery is, and Noah replies it is in the middle of nowhere. Back in the basement, we discover Drew is resisting his injuries, but they hear the man's footsteps returning. They start cleaning the floor while the man approaches, irritated. Soon he enters the room, looks at Drew's body, and wonders why the monster did not finish the job. He lunges at Sarah and grabs her by the hair, but Drew appears behind him and tries to kill him. Although with only one arm, it is difficult. The man quickly gets rid of the attack and removes the belt that held Drew's arm bleeding, and the creature begins to approach. While the man attacks Andrea, she strikes him in the groin, which angers him even more. Her children help her, and Lucas manages to grab the man's stick, but he shows no fear of the boy, saying he is just a frightened little kid with no one to protect him. Then he has another flashback to when he found the creature, together with his little son Henry's backpack. With a disturbed mind, he decides to take the creature and care for it as if it were his child. Back in the present, he tries to attack Lucas, who hits him in the head with the stick, while the creature approaches Drew. Lucas quickly draws the creature's attention to himself. The man tries to grab the stick, but Sarah stops him, holding it with the chains. Drew manages to get the stick and starts to lure the creature away. Meanwhile, the family manages to restrain the man with the chains and finally finish him off. They then notice the keys fell near the creature's shelter. Fortunately, Drew approaches, throws the key to the family. However, this is a farewell, because he ends up being brutally killed by the creature. Lucas realizes he received a blow to the head, begins to feel sick and faints, while Andrea faces the creature that tries to approach them. The two help Lucas to stand up, and when they are about to leave, the man is still alive and holds Sarah's leg, but she manages to free herself and kicks the man. The madman is now face to face with his pet creature, and while Andrea watches, the monster kills him brutally. Soon the family manages to get out of the basement, and, while Andrea cares for Lucas, Sarah finds her father's wallet with photos of them. The two children leave, while Andrea asks for a minute to mourn the loss of her husband and cries tears. Soon Andrea joins her children, and we see that the creature managed to get loose from its leash. Noah and his father soon arrive at the place and meet with the rest of the family. They embrace, and Wesley is happy that everyone is okay, deciding to leave soon after. In sequence, we see that the creature is loose, looking for more victims, and thus the film ends.